never get credit for my discovery. Who's going to believe a talking head get a job in a sideshow?
Hello, Bots and Books fans, this is Scorp1701, and tonight, the Toony Terrors have returned. Ooh, Neca is at it again, and this time we have Dr. Herbert West, the Re-Animator himself. Ooh, and he is of the latest line of Toony Terrors. And if you're not familiar, Toony Terrors is this line that Neca has put out where they take your favorite movie killer and make them up to be what they would look like if they were in a Saturday morning cartoon to entertain children. I guess, I don't know, but this is an awesome little concept. This will be our ninth Toony Terror that we've reviewed, and I can't wait to jump right into Herbert West, the Re-Animator himself. So let's take a look at the packaging. You can see he's in a nice blister card. You have ages 17 plus here. Warning, Neca, Toony Terrors. Now all of these have the figure standing in front of a movie marquee, and on the side of the marquee you can see some movie pictures of the Re-Animator, and you have some of his reagent down here, and a dead cat, and some other reagents. And over here you have another movie picture of him. And if you look into the back of the marquee, I don't know if you'll be able to see it because it's kind of in there, but it basically says H.P. Lovecraft's classic tale of horror, The Re-Animator. Ew, and that is so creepy. And you can see Herbert West in there, Herbert West. On the bottom of the box, you just have some credits for the box and a barcode. And on the back, you have a neat little backdrop that we can cut out, and we'll put him in front of it so we can see how that is. And on the top you have this standard readout of the Toony Terrors, and you could stop and you could read that to your heart's content, but we must be moving on. And that is pretty much it for the back of this guy and the box entirely. So let's get Herbert West out and see what he can do. And here we have Herbert West out of the package. And out of the package, he stands at approximately 5.5 inches tall. And he does come with a nice figure stand. And the way that his feet are molded, you will have to put him on the stand or else he won't be able to stand up. He also comes with an icky pan of blood, a severed head, and a vial, or a syringe, of his reagent, which is all really cool. And we'll take a look at all of those features in a moment, but first I want to take a look at Dr. Herbert West himself. And coming real close in on Herbert West, you can see he has this very, very serious molded face, and this is supposed to resemble a very young Jeffrey Combs. And most of you know Jeffrey Combs from his work on Star Trek, I'd imagine. He's done a lot of other things too, but Jeffrey Combs as a Wayoon from Deep Space Nine is where I kind of remember him from, and he's always a good soft-spoken actor. A lot of versatility in his voice and acting, I think. And they captured his likenesses okay, I guess, for a cartoon. You see he has his nice brown hair, big forehead. The glasses here are basically just painted on. There's not really a mold in there. There's just kind of, it's almost like they forgot he had glasses. I was like, oh, we need to paint in some glasses there. I think usually they do better if they mold them, but that's okay. Got a nice stern face, and coming down to his neck, has his classic lab coat on, a nice blue shirt with a green tie, got a couple pins sticking out of his pocket here. His arms are just molded white coat, and his hands are coming out very nicely done. They're not articulate, they just have that one pose. Coming down to some black pants, which are good, and he does have some two-tone black with some brown soled shoes. And you may see a little bit of differential here, and that's because, well, out of the box I tried to move his feet around and they both snapped off on me, so that was very disconcerting, but I've glued them back. Felt like the Re-Animator himself, like, oh god, gosh, I gotta get these back on. So I kind of glued them and then did the little reaches. I really did feel like the Re-Animator trying to get these feet back on, and that was kind of a thing in part 2, the bride of Re-Animator. They had feet in there, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. And you can see his figure stand is attached. Like I said, I don't think it's because I broke his feet. I think even out of the box, his feet aren't going to allow him to stand just because of the way this is molded. However, I could be wrong and it could be my fault, but he is on a figure stand now, and that's the way you're going to get him to stand up. All right, and that is what Herbert West looks like. Moving on. And for articulation, starting at the head, his head can go around 360 degrees, and he does kind of have a neck rotation. It's kind of on a hinge right here, so you can see it goes up and down, kind of left and right, so it's kind of different. It looks kind of like it bulges out. I don't really particularly care for that in the sculpt, but I guess if you turn it this way, it's not really noticeable. The arms can go around 360 degrees. There is no elbow hinge. It is kind of bent via the sculpt in the elbow. He does not have any wrist or hand articulation on the left hand. Now the right hand can go around 360 degrees, and the same with this arm. There is no hinge, but it is bent in the sculpt at the elbow. The waist does have a slight articulation, and it can go left and right, but not too much. And there is nothing in the legs until you get down to the feet. And like I said, when I was adjusting the feet, it did feel like they were going all the way around, but then they snapped off on me. So I don't know if that articulation is good enough to actually use, or you may just be breaking your feet off. But anyway, my feet do not articulate anymore, but the standard figure's feet do articulate. If you do decide to mess with them, if you get this figure, be very careful because they are very weak in that joint, I am thinking. So that is it for Herbert West's articulation. Moving on. And for the first accessory we'll be taking a look at, we have the syringe full of reagent. And it is nicely done. It's basically plastic and it has a nice tip to it, but it does feel very fragile, so I would not force it too much, because I think if you do mess around with this, it will break on you, because it does seem very fragile. And it will fit down into his hand like such. And and then it will fall out through his hand like such. So it is kind of very finicky to get in there, but there you go. You can have it in there and he can hold his reagent. So that is very nicely done. And for Dr. Herbert West's next accessory, you have this nice pan. It's gray and nothing on the bottom here. And if you look inside, you have some ooey gooey blood. Oh, it's so gross. Actually, it's just painted in there and no molding or anything for detail. But if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what this pan of blood is for. If not, well, let's just say that there was a rival doctor to Herbert West, and he tried to steal Herbert West's research, and he basically lost his head for it. And speaking of lost heads, here is Dr. Hill's head. Well, this is a good head sculpt. It just doesn't really feel like Dr. Hill. Dr. Hill had a lot more gray hair, so you might want to customize that if you really want this to be authentic. But you can see he has nice brown hair, some nice eyes, eyebrows, big nose, and some good detail in the face. And then it comes down to his chopped off head. And in the back you get some gross detail in the neck there. That's so nasty. Ew. And basically what you'll do with Mr. Hill is you'll stick him in this little pan of blood and he'll just sit there. And basically that's what he did through the whole end of the first movie. And he was actually even in the second movie, The Bride of Re-Animator. So yeah, that's kind of a creepy little accessory. But you know what, I'm not going to complain, because for the most part these Toony Terrors were like pops. They didn't have a lot of articulation, and if they had an accessory it would probably be just a weapon or something. So adding this head and pan is more than they needed to do, so I kind of like it. Alright, moving on. And here we have Herbert West in front of his backdrop. And I've turned the lights down just a hair to give it that more creepy vibe. And you can see the little TV in the background and the sink. And he's got his reagent and he's ready to bring someone back from the dead and give them life. Ooh. So we'll scroll up just a little bit to see. If you go up a little bit, you can see that there is a light on the backdrop, so that is cool. And then we will scroll down to the bottom and see the bottom of the table and basically just down to his legs. So that is the background, and if we want to go all the way out and ruin our illusion, but that is what he looks like all the way. All right, and that is your backdrop. Moving on. And for comparison, here you have him with some other Toony Terror monsters like Michael Myers, Beetlejuice, Ash, and Freddy. Now, it's funny because Ash and Herbert West were in the same comic book. They did a Army of Darkness versus a Re-Animator comic, which I thought was funny and kind of fits that they're both out here. So anyway, there is your comparisons. Moving on. And this has been the Neca Toony Terrors, Dr. Herbert West, the Re-Animator. And this is such a creepy little figure. I love him. He is very detailed. He comes with accessories, which is really unheard of when it comes to Toony Terrors. Usually, again, like I said before, they only get their weapon. But he actually comes with his syringe. He comes with a pan of blood and a severed head. I mean, wow. And a figure stand, which you'll need because he won't stand up on his own. Of course, it could be because I broke his feet, but mistakes were made. So if you're looking for this guy, you can find him at Target. He goes for roughly $13 to $14, and he's hitting shelves now. The Re-Animator was a great series. I thought it was kind of one of those weird 80s cheesy horror flicks. You had a lot of grotesque stuff in there, so if you're kind of squeamish, you might want to skip it. But if you've seen it, and you've seen The Bride of Re-Animator, and you've seen Beyond Re-Animator, I think those are the three in the series, and you know, they did a real good job keeping Dr. West here the same and psychotic through the entire thing. And if you watch it, you might notice the theme is very similar to the Psycho theme. So I was actually getting the music ready for this video. I'm like, this sounds like Psycho theme. So I don't know if they kind of stole it from there, but you know, definitely Herbert West is a psycho. So I think the music was very apt for him. All right, guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great night. And until next time, keep playing.